Hello and welcome. Today I'm going to work on the 7-speed side of the STX RC MC33 combo shifter. This is the second part. I've already worked on the 3-speed shifter. So today we're going to dismantle the interior each bit by bit. It should be more or less the same as the 3-speed, slightly different in variation. So let's get started. First thing we're going to do is remove this bolt at the back, which is going to enable us to take off the shifter and the back cover. There's a Phillips screw right here. Before we get on any further, make sure you relieve the tension on the spring completely, put it into 7 gear. Now there's a nut to remove, and the last one it was removed by going clockwise. So we're going to do the same. You'll need a number 10 to take this off. Okay, so once we've taken that off, we can remove this plate. The last one is pretty hard to lodge off. Looks like it's coming off on this one. Yeah. Oh, a lot of stuff's come off at the same time. There you go. Right, well, that bushing was so stuck onto the back of that plate, I had to stick it off. But yeah, there's underneath here there's a very thin copper washer, and there's also the coil spring that we can take off. Oh man, it's just really dirty. Let's now remove this lever, and underneath you'll see there's a pull and a nylon plastic bushing here as well. We're going to dismantle that soon. Let's see if I can just lift up from here. Yeah. Okay, that's released. So underneath that there's another bushing and then there's a copper ring washer. We can now lift up the next lever. Here there's a seal. I've taken the mech off the body now. So here there's a plate that we're going to remove. Usually there's a small clip holding these plates down, but this one doesn't seem to have one. So either it's either been lost or it's just never included. So we can now lift that up. Here there's 2 pulls to remove. Very strange on this one. I haven't seen this before. There's a clip in between the 2 pulls. Interesting. Let's take that off. Now I can take that off. Take off that spring, sprocket, and finally the spring. It's got quite a bit of tension actually on this. Underneath there, I can take off that spring. Don't know what it's held on. Okay, got it. Let's take off the pull on this lever that I'm going to remove. Yeah. So there's that spring. Ah, it's so stuck on here. Okay, got it off. All of it. Okay, so here's what everything looks like. I put everything in a sort of order. When you're going to be cleaning it, this is what I would do every time to avoid losing parts and mixing everything. It makes it a lot easier to clean by group. Just get a small, I don't know, pot of degreaser. You're going to need degreaser for something like this, and some paper, and wipe everything down. And then assemble it kind of like in the same order. That way when you're going to put everything together, it's going to be a lot simpler. I've removed all the rest of the parts as well to give them a clean. The dial here, the dial indicator, you just have 2 screws at the top and you just take them off. In preference, use a flat-headed screwdriver bit for that, because usually the threads are rusty, especially if they've been left outside. And all the plastic covers just pull off. I've also got the plastic dowel, this plastic dowel part. I'm going to do like the same what I did on the other one, clean inside the dial indicator. You can do that really quickly by just taking off these screws and not taking it off completely. So I'll just show you what I'm talking about. Yeah, so if you just open this up slightly, you can just kind of slide this off without removing anything, and then put that back in. Okay, so I've cleaned up all the parts. I'm gonna grease a couple of the parts in preparation for rebuilding everything. So I'm going to use Teflon grease. It is my preferred grease for these shifters. I'm going to take the plastic cam part and we're going to put the spring back in. Mine's a little bit dirty still. It's just taking too long to clean in between those little crevices, and I don't think it's going to make much of a big deal of difference. So weirdly, this spring doesn't just fall in like all on the other shifters I've worked on. You have to kind of tension it a little bit to reducing its diameter, and once you've done that, it does fall in eventually. You can pretty much now put this onto the pivot, and you'll see you need to put it on the side. There's like a dot here on this angle, and on the other side, so that tip, that spring that's now getting away, what we're going to do is we're going to move it towards this part here where it needs to hold on. And by turning it now, if the spring eventually falls into place onto the actual pivot where we need it to be. We can now grab the sprocket part. It seems to go in this way, like so. So on here we're going to grab the that spring. We're going to fit it here. We're now going to install the double-ended pull, so it's going to go in this way, just to give you a visual, and I'm fairly certain that that other tip of that spring is going to go into the, I don't know, like a little gap that's right there. So that spring, like I was saying before, we're going to need to move it into here in that little space. Now after, we're going to have a tiny little clip that we're going to insert that holds all this down in place, and it's going to go into a little wedge right there. One more go. You need to really push this down to be able to get access to the little slot. Let's see if this time it's gonna. You know what? It was easier to just undo the spring here again and then put the clip, and then we'll put it back up again. Okay, got it on. And fine, we can put the other pull. So we're going to put it in that way. And the spring here is going to go where there's that little slot inside the on the pull as well, like so. Okay, and now we can put this plate on here, so that curved part is sticking upwards. I've put a little bit of grease on here. There's some teeth there you need to put in the right place, but it's very obvious because there's a hole here for that pivot. So now you can push that down, like so. We can now grab this lever, so the smaller one without the pull, and it's actually going to be facing this way eventually, with that part facing downwards. I think it's eventually lifting up those pulls when it's being turned. On top of that, there's this very thin copper washer, and that bushing is going to sit in between the that lever, so you need to push it through. Right, now there's a spring, so that hook part is gonna hook around the that metal part that's sticking out right here, and the other tip of the spring that's facing downwards is going to hook up just here on that lever. Maybe if I do it the other way around. I use a plier for this. Yeah, okay. That's now on. We're going to be installing the next lever soon, so I'm going to prepare some parts. You have this plastic nylon that's sitting inside. You're going to have a spring, so the top of the spring is going to be that's going over that pull, so the other end is going to go towards here. I'm pretty sure there's a hole here right there on the left, and that's where we want to put that tip of that spring. As for the pull, we're going to seat it towards that way, and so that's actually going to be, as you can see, tensioning eventually like this. We're now going to install the next lever, so that pull, you're going to need to pull it back when we're going to install it, and it's actually going to be going in front of this sprocket here. It eventually, you know, pushes these up. So I'm going to just do that now. Next, we're going to grab these two little thin copper washers that are left. So they're going to go together, and we're going to take the bushing that's here, and we can put those like so. So you can put like that and push it through. We've got that return spring to put on the top here. I think there's a hooking part, yeah. The hooking part of that spring on one side is going to go towards there. We're going to grab that final plate that's going to seat around about here. You can grab that spring and bring it up to that slot that's right there. The tip of my finger. I've put a tiny bit of thread lock on this, on the threading for the nut that we're about to put on. So we're going to be threading it on. It should be anti-clockwise. Oh, it's coming on first time. Good, great. I'm happy. I'm going to put the plastic covers for the pod assembly. Stick them back on it in the right place. Hopefully this should work straight away, so I need to remove this again. Put that in the right place. Is that in? On the other side of that, there's that female bolt. Holding that female bolt in place, I'm going to now put the bottom of the pod's cover. So we're going to take that number 4. Let's put that little Phillips screw back in as well. I'm going to put the screen back on. For this little plastic part, the tip is going to go into the hole that's going into the white cam at the back here. You have to look for it. Pretty self-evident where it goes anyway. Then that little tip there is going to go between the that fork part and that metal. So aim for that properly. Don't want to break it. That should all nicely and comfortably sit in. And now we can screw down those little screws here to hold the dial in place. Alright, well that's that done. And it's nice and working. Much better than it was before as well. So I hope this helped you rebuild both of your shifters, the STX RC MC33s. And well, until next time, peace out.